96, beginning of 1997. Publication of my first book was delayed by 1 month for 7 months in a row. I became steadily more depressed until eventually my wife said, "Dylan, you have to talk to somebody. You are absorbing all the light in the apartment." I went to the Yellow Pages, I found a name, I called the guy, I made an appointment, I wrote down the address. The next day I went to that address and realized I had not written down the name. So I hung around the waiting area until someone said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "I had an appointment with a therapist and my wife says I have to get help, but I forgot his name and I don't know what to do." It turned out the man talking to me was a therapist and he had a free hour. Well, not free. Available. I went and talked to him. Turned out to be a pretty good therapist. He does all the right stuff. He mirrors my body posture so I think he understands me, and he asks me how things make me feel, you know, all the good therapist stuff that they're supposed to do. And about 3 weeks into this process, I sort of sheepishly said, "I walked past a martial arts studio yesterday. I'm thinking about studying Taekwondo." And he leaned forward and told me very quietly that most depression cases can be cured through 30 or 40 minutes of serious cardiovascular workout 3 or 4 times a week. He said it really quietly, you know, like the other therapists would beat him up in the parking lot for giving away trade secrets. He thought it might not be a bad idea if I went. So I went and signed up. I did a trial week first. My first class, I made it through 12 minutes before I had to throw up. Made it through a little more the next night and a little more the following night. Studying under Master Jin Ki Lim, a wonderful Korean master. And at first I had struggles with everything. I wasn't even I was uncomfortable wearing the uniform. I didn't like calling him master, you know, until I saw him jump 14 feet in the air and break a board with his feet. And then I said, you know, I'll dress up in a sailor suit and call you Sheila. Just don't do that to me. My life began to change through this. 5 or 6 months into the process, I took a bad fall attempting a new technique, and I landed on my head, and I crinked my neck up very badly, and it hurt. But by now, I had begun to project upon Master Lim really magical powers. And I believed that if I went to him and said, "I've hurt my neck," he would immediately turn into Pat Morita, slap his hands together, create magical warmth, touch me, and I would be healed. Don't know why I thought that, you know. It had taken him 5 years. He was still struggling with broken English, you know. I went to him and I said, "Master Lim, last week I fell on my head and I hurt my neck, and can you fix it?" And he said, "Oh, really bad, huh?" "Yes, sir, it's very, very bad." You know, "Oh." I said, "Do you have a cure for that?" And he said, "Yeah, lifetime training." I said, "A lifetime of training, sir?" And he said, "Maybe 10, 15 years training." And I said, "Sir, are you saying that if I train for 10 or 15 years, it won't hurt anymore when I fall on my head?" And he said, "No. Then you won't fall on your head." And I said, "Sir, it's an Asian doctor joke." And he said, "Huh?" Because when he's really baffled, he turns into Scooby-Doo. And I said, I went into my doctor, and I said, "Doctor, it hurts when I do this." And he said, "Then don't do this." And Master Lim lit up and said, "Yeah, that's a good doctor. You keep that doctor." Western thinking teaches us not to fall down. Grown-ups don't do that. Eastern thinking teaches us for every time we fall down, we have to get up. If you never fall down, you are not learning to do anything new. If you're never afraid, you are always exploring your known world. If you do not begin a new journey every day, you remain exactly where you are. Are you completely happy where you are? There's an infinite number of reasons to stay with what we know. My teachers failed me. My employers don't respect my skills. My friend betrayed me. My parents failed to give me what I needed, failed to provide for me, neglected the one thing I needed to know. Think of them as challenges, not obstacles. And it's begun. Whether they are shortcomings or limitations, whether they are physical or psychological, in the end, they're all just blocks.